to the Wall to Wall podcast brought to you by Wall Ed Tech, where your hosts Jared and Kari Wall's passion for technology and learning come together to bring you up-to-date information on what's going on in and out of the classroom. From the latest apps and best practices to current trends, this podcast is Wall to Wall Ed Tech.
Hi, and welcome back to Wall podcast with Wall Ed Tech. Today is episode 4. We're going to talk about 21st century skills and their relevance to educators and students. How are you, Jared?
Doing great, Kari. Glad to be here for episode 4. We are fresh and back from a vacation. We traveled to Nashville, Tennessee for the honeymoon we never had.
That's right.
And so it was our anniversary. We took a trip, and we are back well rested and well learned as we listen to a lot of PD on the road. If you're not using podcast for PD, take advantage of your road time and start listening.
That's exactly why we kind of started this with our podcast. But we had 8 hours there of professional development and 8 hours back on professional development. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Today, our news and notes. The big one is ISTE's happening this week. If you are not at ISTE, you can follow the hashtags on Twitter, hashtag ISTE and hashtag not at ISTE.
We will be following those because we are not at ISTE as well.
Right. I was on Twitter this morning and they have already posted so many things and everyone is liking and retweeting. So my entire feed is all about ISTE. A lot of the vendors posting their hands-on activities for educators, and they've got a lot of really cool looking stuff going on. So I'm going to be on Twitter a lot these next few days as ISTE's happening. Also, those of you who don't know, Flipgrid is free. If you don't know that by now, then shame on you. You should be checking these out. But anyway, no, it is free, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment.
Don't forget our 60 days of tech tips on the Wall Ed Tech website and on our YouTube channel. We have a playlist where we are delivering one Google tip for educators every day until school starts, which was about 60 days when we planned it out. So if you check those titles, they tell you what the content of that minute and a half to 2 minute screencast is. That'll teach you something you need to know about Google. Also, remember that our website had a facelift. We're using the new Google Sites. Check us out. Let us know what you think. We're always updating. And if you think we need to add something, hit the email button and send us an email. Either Jared at Wall Ed Tech or Kari at Wall Ed Tech.
Right. Today, our technology tools and trends, the tool we're going to talk about is Flipgrid because it is now free. I have used Flipgrid so many times in my classroom. All classroom accounts are free and include all of the features that you've previously had to pay for. That's unlimited grids, unlimited topics. There's tons of resources that can be found on Flipgrid.com. There's endless uses. Flipgrid is a tool that allows you to, just kind of put an open-ended question out there and have your students respond where they are videoing themselves. They can do this from any device, their laptops, their Chromebooks, their cell phones, and anything with a webcam or a camera with it, and they can respond to you. They get to put little cool stickers and things like that. Now, I teach middle school, and middle school students are reluctant to do just about everything the first time. And they were reluctant, and of course the girls, I don't want to look at this, or they all had something to say, and they had to brush their hair before they get on the video, But you set your expectations up, and they will do it. And once they did it the first time, they really enjoyed doing it. And then, they secretly like to see themselves, but they're going to tell you that they don't. So check out Flipgrid if you haven't. Set you up an account. Like I said, there's a lot of resources available at Flipgrid.com, and you can use this with any content area. Absolutely anything.
I know I used it in English and social studies, and for those of you who are looking for a quick way to assess whether or not a student got the goal of your lesson for the day, rather than have your students write essays or paragraphs that you're going to have to go wade through, leave a Flipgrid question and have them respond in video, and then you will know, and all you have to do is sit and spend a few minutes listening to those videos. You can cap their time at 15 seconds or up to 5 minutes,
I think it's up to 5 minutes, yeah. And that being said, you can do this I mean, I've done it before at night, sitting up in the bed from my phone, watching my students' Flipgrids, and being able to assess whether they understood what we were talking about. But speaking of understanding, you have something about feedback. That's your
Well, before we get to
trend?
feedback, I want to throw another tool and trend out. After you listen to this podcast, check out podcast 5 next week, because we're going to be trying out and using our learning through failing from last time. We're going to be using some more professional podcasting equipment that uses sound mixers, and we'll have 2 microphones instead of us sitting around talking into this one USB mic and sharing it. We'll have more professional setup, and we're hoping that that goes well and you get a clearer sound from us.
Right.
Starting with podcast 5.
By the time this one airs, we should have our new equipment. Yeah. So what about feedback?
All right. So I read an article about meaningful feedback. This is an article that was, the title of it was Getting Feedback Right, a question and answer session with John Hattie from Education Week. John Hattie is the director of the Melbourne Education Research Institute at the University of Melbourne in Australia, and is the author of Visible Learning. I heard about him when we were at the LaQ Leadership Summit last week. He's about to release a new book in August called Visible Learning Feedback, and he had some really interesting things I thought were worth talking about for a second. One of the quotes that he has here about feedback is that I used to think giving more feedback and better feedback was the answer to improving education. And it's the exact opposite. How do teachers and students receive feedback? How do they interpret feedback? So John Hattie says he used to think it was giving more feedback was what would be most helpful for students. But the truth is we need to look more at how do they receive our feedback and what are they doing with it. That's the key question. And so he says there's very little research on how students progress, but there's a lot of research on how teachers think students should progress, and that what the real issue here is a teacher, when they receive feedback, they want to know how they're doing, what they and where they're going, so that they can change some of the things they're doing to be better at teaching.
Right.
But a student, when they interviewed students want to know concrete steps to fix what they're doing wrong so they can get to that standard you're trying to teach them. It doesn't help them to get a red X or a you need to work harder here. If you do not provide students with some concrete step-by-step help to improve what they're not doing well on, then the students really get little out of your feedback other than I got an F or a B or a C, and then I move on with life. So that's kind of what he talks about in how we have got to pay more attention to the quality of our feedback and how it's received from students rather than just giving feedback in general.
In my mind right now, this is very interesting. And in my mind is running through is like RTI, the response to intervention, and how this could change, this idea could change.
Yeah, I think it's
what we do.
Yes, I think you hit on a good point that we're always assessing students' grade level on reading and math, and we're always trying to tell them, you struggle here, do more work here, but we never give any actual, I don't want to say never, there are people who do, but as a system, we're not providing the personalized help that each student needs to get better. If you're struggling at a certain thing in math class, every student that's struggling there is not struggling with the exact same step or the exact same problem. We need to listen to those students, find out where they're struggling, and then give them some individualized steps to help them with where they're struggling so that they can move on to the next standard or the next issue.
Sounds interesting. We'll have to get that. And that book is released in August. In August. Okay. Yes. So it's Visible Learning.
Visible Learning by John Hattie. Okay. All right. So let's move on to our topic for today. Our topic is 21st century skills and their relevance to today's students. And this kind of goes hand in hand with a blog post that I just dropped on our website and our blog today, called Good Teaching and Technology, that addresses some of these same issues. And the "and" is capitalized on that blog post because one of the themes lately that has been reoccurring, especially in our district, is this idea of and, not or. So you can have good teaching and technology. It doesn't have to be good teaching or technology if you're not using technology, it's not necessarily bad teaching. You can marry those two things. So check out that blog post, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're starting with a guiding question. What was that question?
The burning question is, if our students need to be proficient in technology, shouldn't our teachers be proficient in using technology?
So this question was asked last week, and it was something we thought long and hard about and thought this would make a good podcast discussion. So if students need to be proficient in technology, and why do they need to be proficient in technology, Ms. Wall?
They need those 21st century skills. They need to meet the standards for technology that can all be found on ISTE. Educators have their own standards as well, coaches, administration. And without those skills, we're doing our students a disservice. They need technology skills for just about every job, every single job out there, unless you're mowing the grass for your neighbor or something like that. My students and I have sat down on multiple class periods and talked about technology, and they've tried to come up with a job that does not require any kind of technology, and we can't find any. I mean, they're very, very, very few, far between. But even something as simple as someone having to, badge in or badge out for their time to work a job without technology, that badging in and badging out is a technology component. If they get a printed out paycheck, there is a technology component. And so everywhere they turn, students have technology thrown at them once they leave school. So why not teach them the skills that they can use that will take them into the next phase of their life beyond school, and to be able to use those skills. I mean, when they get to college, professors are not asking them to write out an essay on paper. I don't know if they use the blue books anymore or not, but I would be surprised. I'm sure there's somebody, but they're asking them to type something up and print it. Well, they need some kind of word processing. So they need the Google Docs and to know how to format and things like that. That's just in college. And then it goes even further once they're out into the work field as well. It's all around them, and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get more and more technical as we go on.
And one of the points I made in my blog is that our students are born into a world of technology. When they go home, they have smartphones, tablets, laptops, Chromebooks, their parents, their friends, everybody's holding a smartphone, everybody's on social media. So why are we, as teachers who use smartphones and use technology and see how powerful it is in our own lives, why are we removing that from the classroom environment when we know what a powerful learning and collaboration tool it can be?
You already said we just came back from vacation, and when we were out, there was a small family, and the youngest child looked to be about a year and a half old, is being pulled in a wagon. That child had a smartphone, had like an iPhone in their hands, and they're sitting in the wagon and they're playing some little game on a smartphone. This child, there's no way this child was 2 years old. So it's something that is in their face. They are born into immediately, and they have expectations when they come to school as well.
And we want to make sure that the point of our content today is that teachers need to be proficient in using technology as well. They need to embrace the idea that what they're doing with technology on their own time is something they can use to prepare for their classes and to embed those tools into the teaching and learning experience for those students. There is no class. I know that Ms. Wall teaches IBCA, which is teaching kids to use Word and Excel and PowerPoint. But there really is no class that's teaching our students how to use a computer, what computers do, and then all the different tools that are available, whether it's Nearpod or Adobe Spark, Adobe Tools, Google Tools. There is no one class that's going to teach students how to use that technology. We need to be giving those students glimpses of those tools, the ability to use those tools to figure out which tool is right for which job, so that when they leave school and go into the workforce, they are armed with this basically toolkit of technology tools that they can use to do their jobs in a more efficient way. And for me, it's every teacher's job to jump on board that bandwagon and be proficient with being able to help students learn and use technology.
Right. One of the main things I want to point out is it's not about the tool. It's about achieving the outcome. And that's what we have to think about first and foremost is what is our objective? What is it that we want students to accomplish? And then you can look at tools that will help you accomplish that.
Right.
It's not about just using technology to say that you used it. If it's not meaningful, it doesn't really matter. Now all you've done is waste class time trying to figure out this tool just to say that you use technology.
And my blog post goes deeper here, but what she is talking about here is that good teaching transcends technology. There are people have been great teachers for years before some of these computer and web apps ever existed. Good teaching doesn't change, but what tools we have to facilitate that teaching does change. So one point in history, the chalkboard and a piece of paper and a pen, that was technology.
That was technology.
But now we have laptops, cell phones, and tablets, and we need to learn to embrace those tools as well because it's the world our students are living in.
One of the things I also think we need to address is that we talked about the outcome being first and then figured out the tool. But these tools also need to be used to their full potential. Kind of thinking about Bloom's taxonomy levels and about how we start one place and we just keep building on that. And, a lot of teachers think they have a PowerPoint, so I'm using technology. Yes, you are. But PowerPoint will always be a level 1 because other than inserting a link, it's not interactive. And then you would have to share that with every student who would then have to save it to their desktop, all of these things. But something such as Google Slides can elevate that level much higher. Correct.
So if we're using Google Slides, immediately we add collaboration as a tool to our teaching. We can share our Google Slide presentation with the whole class, so every member of the class is on there. They can add to this as they're learning, so we can make this something where we're creating learning along with the teaching that we're doing with the Google Slides. Also, there's the tool that Google has added recently where you can collect questions from the audience. So your students are logged on to that slide presentation. They're giving you questions that you can come back to at the end and make sure you address for things that students are struggling with. So we're collaborating, we're creating learning, creating projects. There's just a lot of things you can do that elevate what's happening in your classroom from just rote memorization and note-taking to creation and collaboration.
Right, and you can do this with any of the Google tools, honestly, because like HyperDocs for using Google Docs, and then also with drawings and things like that, you're able to link different things to your particular, you can link it to an image or different text, but to link research articles and allow the students to create different things and link videos and all the stuff. It's endless, the things that you can do. And this could be made for any content area, not specifically just core content. As an elective teacher, this is something that we could use on I'm just sitting here brainstorming art and foreign languages and different hands-on skill-based course.
Absolutely.
So,
well, that was our topic for today, 21st century skills and teachers being proficient as well as students. We hope you learned something useful today. Check out that blog post, and if you want to leave me some comments on that blog post, your thoughts, do you disagree, do you agree? Let's have a conversation about it. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook, Wall Ed Tech. Also, we have a Google Plus community, and if you're not taking advantage of that, join us on Google Plus. We share a lot of resources there as well. Remember, nothing takes the place of good teaching. Your technology should enhance your teaching, not replace your teaching.
Right.
All right?
All right. Well, this was an interesting topic and something that we're definitely passionate about.
All right, Miss Wall. Well, we'll see you next time on Wall to Wall Podcast with Wall Ed Tech.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Wall Podcast. For more resources, you can visit walledtech.com or follow us on Twitter. Our username is @walledtech, or you can find us on Facebook by searching for WallEdTech. If you have questions, comments, or anything you want to hear us talk about, visit WallEdTech and send us an email, tweet, or message us on Facebook. We look forward to hearing from you.